Marco Reus. Daniel Malen! Wonderful!
Fantastic from Royce. Jude Bellingham, that's excellent. Jude Bellingham, this is absolutely brilliant. Jude Bellingham! Absolutely magnificent.
Reina, brilliant from the American. Just like that.
Graceful. Sally Hoods down for Anthony Modeste.
Not a bad idea. And there it is for Coco. For Borussia Dortmund. The long wait is over. Unbridled joy in the Revierderby.
He said it for them.
I know.
I was like, come on, man. You can't reuse that.
That's what I was thinking that too.
Hey, welcome back to the BVB podcast. Sorry if it's a little awkward with the intro and the hype of Moukoko scoring that goal when this game wasn't as hype. We didn't have that moment. There was unbridled joy for Schalke on the American broadcast if you're watching in the States. Unfortunate. But we got an exciting episode. Adam is back with us again. We like to shout you out every episode, and every time I'm going to say it, I'll say it again. It's always been way too long since we've had you on here. But Adam, thanks for joining us. I know it's a little late on your side of the country. How are you doing, though?
I'm doing pretty well. Unbridled joy to be here. The last time I was on was actually in the extended break, and I feel like I was pretty down on the team. And then, win after win after win after win. Of course, now that I'm finally coming on, that's when the streak was broken. But wow, there's been a lot of good stuff happening since I was on last.
It's okay. Carver was really down on us too at that break.
I was going to say, who wasn't? Really, who wasn't? And even in my wildest dreams, I was thinking to myself right before the break, I was like, we would literally have to come out and win minimum 7 or 8 in a row just to get like a taste of the race that we could potentially be in. And then we got 10, and it's like, wow, okay.
And it's, it's still on, even though we dropped those points. Bayern won. So they are currently sitting in first, 52 points, top of the table. We're sitting at second with 50 points. But even after this, results-wise, it's not a bad result to get an away draw at our rivals. So, not really a bad result. It feels bad because I felt like the game wasn't that great. And obviously, we dropped the points. We had the lead a couple times, and we let them get back into it. But let's jump right in. Schalke, Dortmund, 2-2. Fans were going crazy, as they normally do. But I feel like our team, Dortmund, didn't really match our fans in the stands. We had some good moments. But Carver, I'll start with the lineup and then let you rip a little bit. Or if you want to give your initial thoughts about the game, quick ones.
Well, just that I disagree that it's not bad that we got a draw there. I think every game against Schalke should be a must win.
It is, yes.
You're going to get shunned for that.
In a vacuum, an away draw is, I get it.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
This is a game, we never want to lose, right? Or we never want to get a draw. We want to beat them every time. But in a game like this, form doesn't matter where they're at on the table, where we are. Form goes out the window. Anything can happen. This is the result I will settle for. I'm not settle for, and I'm not happy about it because I feel like given the form we've been in, we should have went into this winning, but not the case.
Yeah, so let's get into this lineup because it is pretty interesting. You have
thanks for jumping in because I was trying to pull it up and I was like, I'm completely lost in my tabs right now. So go for it.
You have Kobel still out, so you have Meyer in goal, back four of Rierson, Schlotterbeck, Hummels, and Wolf. Chan in the middle again, and that's 6. A midfield of JBG, Guerrero, first time if I remember correctly, since under Tuchel in the midfield, Bellingham and Malen, and Haller up top. And I think when this was announced and it was just a list of players, I probably heard, including myself, I was wrong with looking at thinking about how we were going to line up. But everyone had, just a vast majority of different answers here for how we think we're going to look. Do you guys have any thoughts? Or
I briefly thought that Wolf might have been a winger, but then I was
Me too.
It doesn't really make sense with everybody else that was in. I mentioned before the show that morning I was actually picking up a new pup, so I didn't get much time to digest the lineup. I actually watched the first half on my phone in the car ride between a couple of dogs, so that was a fun way to watch the first half there. But when I was able to actually put it up on the big screen and say, "Oh, we've got Rierson and Wolf and Guerrero," I hadn't even like registered until then. I was like, "This is interesting," and it makes you wonder, like, what took so long for Guerrero to be used in the midfield? Because I feel like we've been talking about this for like 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, would Tuchel use him there a little bit? We always thought, he was a pretty good wing back if that we used a back three, but it's weird that like now that we've decided he's gone, like we're using him in these new ways and finding out, we got a little bit of a midfielder here. I think we knew that all along, but the fact that we're actually seeing it now is pretty interesting to me, the timing.
It really is, considering how many different times we just approached these opponents and still just kept trying to throw and force Guerrero back there. So, and already since that one game, you're seeing a handful of quotes from the board and Terzic saying, we're definitely going to consider Guerrero as a midfielder as an option going forward. So it's like such a weird, this again, like you said, 6-7 years now of this. So it shouldn't be any surprise. And then the other thing that really kind of stuck out to me too was JBG again. I mentioned last week that I didn't think this would be the game for him to really, I guess, shine in. Same with the Pokal game against Bochum. I just think these gritty, smash and grab games where it's obviously extremely physical. It's the derby. I just didn't think this was the game for him. So just eyebrows raising all along, or all across the board, really.
Right. And you see, like, Reina didn't start when, like, with Brandt out, we assume that this was, he's got to start, right? Like, he's got to start. But no, Malen starts. We're bringing Guerrero back. I feel like, Reina might be behind Nuri Sahin on the depth chart right now. Like, it's so strange.
That was one of the points I had down. And my biggest takeaway from the lineup is, you see Guerrero slot in above what you would presume Reina, or maybe Reina out on the wing, right? Nope, JBG and Malen are there, like you said. So is there some of this? I'm gonna go back to. We're all USMNT fans, so I'm gonna go back to the USMNT drama, and I know some of that's been a little more has been coming out lately, and I know Dortmund and Terzic came out and made a statement like we've never had these issues with Reina, but this seems to raise more questions for me. Like, you see him when Guerrero scored his goal, you see him run on the pitch with him and celebrate. And it doesn't look like there's anything weird going on, but I'm just like, what are they seeing on the training pitch? Like that, it just doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't like add up to me why hasn't been playing as of lately, especially coming right off the World Cup, scoring, was it 4 goals or 3 for the winners and everything? And what has happened since then to see this drop off? I know he started a match, played about 65 minutes, didn't do much, and that's when we saw JBG come on and score. But like, what else has happened that, not saying it's a personality thing or anything like that, but like, what has happened with his form in training? Like, why isn't he getting these chances or opportunities? Of course, we saw him come on against Chelsea, but it's like, I don't know, is there more to it?
There's so much speculation I could do on this. Like, I think it's the same thing with Dahoud. It seems like there's such a reluctance to use these two players that you wonder what it is. Like, at least with Reina, like, you've seen the goals, like at the beginning of the new year where he was scoring them late. And you would think that, by seeing that he's ready. And we've seen a start here and there at maybe 2. I think he's actually playing a lower percentage of minutes this year with Dortmund than he did in the World Cup, which is kind of amazing. I don't know. It's got to be something in training that, like, I don't know if that means attitude or if it means just something physically not quite there to play the minutes. But then, Brandt goes out in the 5th minute and Reina comes in and plays the rest of the time. So I don't think he would do that if it was a physical thing.
Yeah, and I think it's too far past the point to be like we're playing it safe with him. It's like it's March now. I think you don't need to play it safe anymore. So I don't understand. Carver, do you have anything to add on that? Or
no, I do not actually. I kind of have my hands up on this one.
Yeah, weird. I did want to give a quick shout out to Denver Igarta on Twitter, who did reach out per my Portland trip. He did tweet us. But because I was asking, I know we have some listeners in Portland. I don't know if we've ever like connected on Twitter, but he reached out, said he was watching the game and then watching the Portland St. Louis game. That's all I'm going to say about St. Louis. I've been talking about them a lot. We don't need to get into them. But
I'm ready to talk about St. Louis. I mean, Roman Berkey, 3 wins in 3. Like I was expecting some St. Louis talk here.
Yeah. Maybe a little bit at the end. But I just want to shout out Denver, who did reach out on Twitter. Didn't meet up to go watch the game. He said he was watching it at home. And I completely mixed up my like time zone switches. So I woke up in Portland thinking the game was at 1:30. I even said it on the podcast, like, game's at 1:30, so I might not have time to watch it before I go there. And then I wake up in Portland and was like, oh, I'm 2 hours the other way. Game's at 9:30. Definitely could have gone to a bar and watched it. I didn't. But yeah, shout out to Denver for at least reaching out. It didn't work out to meet up or anything, but at least he reached out. So
that's cool. Really good that we nailed the time zone difference tonight. Like that seems like a low probability thing these days.
I mean, and I was so on it for everything else, like my travel and getting to the stadium and everything. I'm just like, oh yeah, game 2 hours the other way. Nope. Anyways, we can keep moving. Unless you want to talk Berkey more, we can keep moving.
Oh, you got a Zhao Klaus nerd here too, so
yeah.
I mean, anything stick out from? Let's talk Guerrero in the midfield though, and we'll get into that a little bit more because I've been the Guerrero hater before, and I've said I don't care if people want to say he's more of a midfielder. He plays left back, and that's what has been pissing me off lately. But I didn't hate him in the midfield, so I have no problem saying like I'm not hating Guerrero in general. I hate what he does in the left back position sometimes. Comes in, gets a banging goal, creating a lot of opportunities. I'm not mad this time because he's running around the middle when he's playing in the middle of the park. That's fine. I'm not going to be mad when you're running on the right side of the park or the left side of the park when you're stationed in the middle. That's the other thing that gets me. But Carver, do you want to talk Guerrero's game a little bit?
Yeah, obviously giving him the freedom to stay up and link up those plays. I thought he did pretty well this game. Obviously, he got a goal and an assist. It was a gorgeous strike for his goal, and it was a just pretty much equally better ball from Chan as well. But I mean, I like him up there. Again, I liked his link up play. He's one of the very few creative players we have going forward in the middle, especially when you have Brandt out. Royce wasn't in this game. I mean, of course, Gio is still a big question mark as well. Jamie bynoe-gittens, I said already, this wasn't going to be the game for him. So, you need someone to drive the ball forward. I mean, Jude did that sort of well, but Jude's also been kind of, I don't know, maybe struggling might be a little harsh, but he's not been up to the standards that he sets for himself for pretty much a few weeks now. So it's really vital that we have someone up there in attack that can help build those plays, that can do those 1-2s, those quick football that we always talk about, and have a go at times too, which is what he did. So, I mean, I was happy with his performance.
I hear so many dogs barking.
I think we got it from multiple rooms. This is great.
Multiple rooms across the country, so apologies for any dogs barking in the background. My dog's barking downstairs. Adam's dogs are barking in Massachusetts, just barking everywhere. But Adam on Rafa, and I guess the midfield in general, because Carver, you touched on Jude. And I don't know if maybe this changeup, we didn't really hit it. Royce is out for an illness, which isn't the first time this season, I feel. And then Ochan was on the bench, and what was the other? I guess Reina. Oh, Brandt was injured. We'll talk about injuries a little bit later. But your thoughts on? I don't know if that's what's affecting Jude. Obviously, we know he's got those leadership qualities and traits, which is why he's the third captain. And you'd hope he'd still be able to like lead that midfield. But I wonder if this much change has kind of thrown off his game a little bit. Because I mean, first half of the season, it seemed like we saw obviously him and Ochan a lot. And now Ochan's been not playing as much, and I don't think that's where the difference is. But maybe having Guerrero in there is what like messed things up a little bit. I don't know.
I tweeted right after the match, like it's tough. Like Jude sets this high expectation, and then when he doesn't meet it, we're a little bit lost. But then like looking at the numbers, which I know numbers are difficult with football, but then I look and Jude led the team in both progressive passes and progressive receptions.
And it's not even close, right? I was looking at those numbers the other day, at least on an individual basis. It's not even close of anyone coming close to Jude.
Right. Like he's getting I need to say that again, progressive passes, like making the pass, and progressive receptions. receiving the and he can't pass them to himself. So he's creating like everything. So I think what today was just he had 2 giveaways, which they were very noticeable. And like each time each one happened, one of them led to a goal. The other one led to a breakaway, which wasn't a goal. We were lucky, but they stand out. So that's what we think about. But I think overall, he probably had a pretty good game. It's just those couple of things stood out. I'm sure there's some automatisms that he's missing with Guerrero too, because surprise, Guerrero hasn't really been in the midfield, and he's a magician himself. So he kind of takes the ball and does things with it where Jude is probably thinking, I could be doing that right now too, but they've got to learn how to work together because they haven't as much. So I have liked looking at Guerrero in this role a lot because he doesn't have to worry about dropping back. He can hit it from like anywhere. Like he has such a sweet strike. Like now I'm like, have we wasted years putting him at left back? Like, I don't know. It seems so strange that we have forced him to be a left back, or maybe he loves it. I don't know. But he just never felt like a left back. And now we're taking him out of left back this late in the game when we're going to lose him for free and seeing things like this. So it's a head scratcher for me.
Well, okay. I'm not pushing back against Guerrero, but I'm going to say, doesn't he play left back for Portugal?
He does.
Yeah, he does. He gets up obviously the same way, like wing back / almost midfielder at times. And he was even a left back at his previous club before us and back in France as well. So maybe it's a familiarity with him as well, but
that's my thing. Like why I think before I didn't want to accept he's a midfielder, play him in the midfield because he plays left back. I get maybe he has the traits for the midfield, and that's what's been so irritating. It's like he plays left back for multiple clubs, for country, for club. So I think that's why I've been like, we can't just be like, oh, he's a midfielder, we're playing out of position. Because I don't think we would have, I don't know, if he was legitimately a midfielder, yeah, he's got those traits, then I don't think for so many years they would just keep forcing him at left back. And I know we've talked about the Schultz thing before, and they brought him in, and that didn't pan out. I don't know. And we don't need to keep harping on it. It's fine. We can move on from Guerrero. He had a great game in the midfield. That's fine. If he's going to transition to that, that's cool. That's where I've always been like, this is weird. Everyone's just like, he's a midfielder, but I'm like, is he really though?
Yeah, and I want to go back to touch on Jude as well, because I haven't been like publicly skeptical, but I have been like kind of just watching him in these past few weeks and thinking like, man, he hasn't really been the same since the turn of the calendar year, at least in the last few weeks. But I have to remind myself, and I think a lot of other people do too, that the kid is still 19. And besides this dip in form, I want to say there was maybe a slight like 3 or 4 week spell in his first year here. I think when he was picking up yellow cards left and right, and he maybe even gotten a red. But he was just making a bunch of silly tackles and complaining and really unnecessary positions and kind of getting himself into holes there. But again, I mean, some kids are just going to your younger players are going to make those mistakes. So it's not like it's some people, God, there wasn't a lot of people, but I did see a handful of people online saying like he shouldn't be in the starting 11 anymore for a while. And it's like, wow, you are not watching the same game as me, man.
Ooh, yeah, I don't know about that. But and obviously we talked about Guerrero and his goal, but I'm not overlooking Schlotterbeck's goal. We can jump right into that. Great. Like, I mean, it wasn't a great run, but he kind of jogged up there. But great to get in position to have that shot, and kind of looked like he was looking for the cross, kind of just let it rip, and it was a fantastic shot. Defender didn't really close down on him, so good for him to take that shot. And that shot, like, I don't know where that came from because that was ridiculous. And if he wants to do that more often, that'd be great. And then I love the power slide.
Yeah, I mean, Schlotterbeck is our new center attacking midfielder. I don't know what else to say. I mean, he is. We don't need Holland anymore.
Yeah, next year when he starts making mistakes in defense, I want to hear everybody.
Yeah,
you're doing it with Rafa. Let's also, who's a midfielder? Why are you playing at center back? He's a midfielder.
I mean, we have 3 guys on the team with 4 goals and 4 assists in the league, and it's Jude, it's Marco, and it's Nico, and it's just I meant to look up before this, like how many center backs in Europe this year have 4 goals and 4 assists. That seems strange, like to have that many of both.
It really is. And in so many different ways too. It's not just, getting his head on the end of crosses or a corners or anything like that. But yeah, you said Schalke didn't really close him down whatsoever. I feel like it was not just for Schlotterbeck, but for Guerrero too. And a handful of other times in our attack. I mean, they just gave us a lot of space, which was pretty strange. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but yeah, if you got that space, of course, take it. And Schlotterbeck's got the confidence in himself. I mean, I've said since the first game here, when I was actually getting a good look at him in a Dortmund kit, and the man is a risk taker, offensively and defensively. He's going to go out and try to go for glory. So it paid off, and he's got a decent shot in him. I got to say, I mean, it wasn't top bins or anything like that, but it had some pace on it. It had some whip too, a little bit of a dip. It's a good shot.
I mean, to be fair to the defender, I don't remember his name, who was, but yeah, I don't think he was really expecting a shot with Schlotterbeck just trotting up there. I don't think he was expecting it, so maybe that's why he wasn't closing him down that much. But to your point, as 4 goals and 4 assists, it always seems like Schlotterbeck comes into these moments and like when we need it, like the Modest goal against Bayern, like to keep that ball in play and whip it in. And then there was I don't remember what game it was, but he had that, I think it was off a corner, and then he had it like just on that crazy angle. But like just when we need to like break the game open, like he's like you said, he's fearless, and like he just has confidence, and he'll just like go for it. So it's nice to have that trait, like because I know we had a few chances before that, but it was like right time, half's winding down. We need to get something going, and he steps up and makes it happen. So Adam, what you think on the goal and maybe his game in general too?
I don't have too much to add on Nico. I think that was Yoshida who was the center back on the other side. I remember him like hanging his head, and you're right. You don't expect a center back to do something like that, but he's got a good collection of goals and assists this year. Like just like you said, like the individual ones that we're thinking about here, like they were some really great ones. You remember so many of them too. I know we wanted to touch on this goal. I also didn't want to leave behind Emre Can's assist, because when I was watching that and my son was over my shoulder watching it, for the assist, I got up and yelled. Like that was a Hummels pass right there. I love those. It just broke the lines. And then when Guerrero took that shot and put it in, it was just we erupted. But oh my gosh, I loved that pass.
Again, I couldn't believe the space Chan had on that right when he turned. I mean, he did a quick scan right before he received the ball, and I bet in his head he was thinking, "Holy hell, there's no one back there." All right, I'm going on an adventure. I'm not minimizing the pass, but
yeah, I cut the diagonal angle too. Like that was not the pass I was expecting, but it ended up being perfect. And there was another pass. Who made it? I think it was Wolf who made it to JBG.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, I love that. Those are my favorite plays right there. Those passes, they're just unbelievable.
I mean, we've been giving Wolf praise for doing the things, like he keeps performing and he keeps making these awesome passes, and I love to see it. That's why I'm never going to be mad seeing him right back. And I think he's kind of earned that spot. The argument obviously is Rierson right or left, and if Guerrero's going up into the midfield, then cool, maybe we have that set. We don't have a lot of depth, but we have those set for now. But yeah, Wolf made that great pass to JBG. Probably should have put that away. Just pulls it wide. And then I was also going to shout out JBG's run on Guerrero's goal, which kind of opened up that space, brought the defender with him to kind of open up Guerrero to get there too. So great run by him. I thought he had some great moments too. I know Carver, like this might not be the game for him to get into, but I thought he did really well. There was a couple times where he did kind of his, I'll say like his little predictable cut in, which he's good at. Like he can always cut in, but like I always expect it and cut into the box and then have a rip. Didn't get a goal this time, but yeah, I thought he had some good moments in this game. And then I do want to run through stats, unless you guys want to jump on JBG or anyone else before I jump into some stats.
I did have
I love stats.
Two more people I wanted to talk about. Well, first, right. I do disagree with JBG just because, I mean, he's only completing maybe like 40% of his dribbles this season. I think it was only 50% this game. And Obviously gave up the ball a bunch too. I think he only completed like 45% of his passes. He wasted that chance too. So again, I just don't think
Carver's
he's physical.
like, this is 2 weeks in a row where I'm like trying to praise JBG and I'm like said I was about to go into stats and I had none of these stats written down and Carver's like, actually, let me come in and tell you.
Actually.
5 completed passes. I was just saying, yeah. When you were saying 40 to 50%, I thought you were going to say his passing percentage, but holy cow, yeah, I hadn't caught that. 5 completed passes in 67 minutes.
Is it because it's just the times he does complete a pass, or like he'll at least like blow by someone once and then maybe he loses it? I don't know. It's just exciting. Every time I see him, I get excited, and he tends to blow past guys, which excites me. Maybe he loses it shortly after that, but I'm here for the first little skill to get by around someone, and then I forget what happens after that. I'm just like, ooh, that was good.
It's just against these kind of opponents when they're really, you know, the team is really mentally sharp and they're ready to go in these kinds of derbies. They're just, I think it's a little tough or a lot more difficult to break those kind of players down. And of course, again, I keep talking about the physicality. I just don't think Jamie's really there yet at the moment. So it was just a difficult game for him. I'm not trying to have a go at him as a player in general. Of course, I love him. I just think he's, you know, that game and the game against Bochum was not that great. But I did want to talk about, lastly, just Malen real quick, because, I mean, he hasn't been getting many minutes this year. But, well, you know, I guess looking back, he did get a few starts here and there. But this game, I mean, I saw him. This game, seeing him on the sheet.
Before you say it, I just want to say I'm very curious which direction you're going to go in a good or bad direction with Malen. I don't even know yet, and I'm very curious.
I feel like, I don't know. It's funny that I keep saying he's not a striker, or he's not a winger, excuse me. And we keep trying to put a square peg into a round hole, but when we play him sort of up top.
Guerrero's not a left back.
Yeah. But we're saying Malen's a striker, but his finishing is arguably his worst ability. So I just thought that was pretty funny that, you know, I keep saying, you know, we should be playing him up top, not on the wing. And yeah, he can't really score to save his life, unfortunately.
Yeah, he did. There was one game where he went in at striker, and I think he scored, and it might have been a Pokal game against the two Bundesliga team.
Adeyemi pulled his muscle on.
Yeah. It was the Berlin game, Jake, you're thinking of recently.
Yeah, if you guys haven't figured it out yet, I don't know anything. I just
your face
I have vague memories of
but he did
that
score in the
Pokal
Pokal match that you're talking about too. I know what you're saying.
No, but you're right. Like we've seen him. I think he's listed as a striker, and we see him in that striker position very rarely. But it is like he gets in good positions. It was a great ball by Jude that got it to him where he...
Oh, the turn.
The turn was great. And then, but he's just like, I'm just going to turn and shoot it right at the middle, like right in the middle of the goal.
Point blank. I don't know how much better he could have done there, but yeah, that one, it was like so beautiful, and it was just a letdown when it didn't go in. But
I mean, that's how like his shots always go. They're always just right.
I was gonna say,
no matter what.
I don't want to shit on him because I understand it. It is very quick with the turn. He had two players on him, so it's tough to really pick a corner in that situation in such small amount of time. But it is like every single shot. They're really quick. I mean, he's got the shot power with having like no angle. He can just fire these off, but it's like always right at the keeper every single time. And it's like, man, you're a professional footballer. Like.
Now, I'm not a Malen apologist, but I thought the stats were very interesting, particularly compared to JBG in this game. So if we're looking at take-ons, JBG 2 out of 5, Malen was 8 out of 13. Passes, bynoe-gittens was 5 out of 11, no progressive passes, whereas Malen was 25 out of 31, 7 progressive passes. Shot creating actions, JBG 1 to Malen 7. It's a little eye popping. I think we're used to not getting much out of Malen. And then, you know, I don't know how much the numbers are supposed to tell us, but the numbers are kind of telling me like, maybe a little bit more than we thought. So just throwing that out there.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I definitely want to clarify that I think he had a much, much better game than JBG. I just thought it was funny that I'm trying to picture him as the striker and leading the line, which he can do sort of well, but it's just like the man can't score.
I was thinking about this watching this game, specifically JBG, and I think it was a time where he got tackled or he lost the ball. And part of me, And maybe this is, I don't know if this is like a secret tactic that Dortmund tries to use, and maybe it's how they keep everyone hooked for so long when things aren't going well. You know, it's been great as of recently. But if I see JBG make a great run or whatever, loses the ball, part of me is just like, well, he's only 18. He's just a kid. So I can't be mad at him, really. But then Malen, like, he's a little older. We've seen him for a few years now. So when he messes up or loses the ball or shoots it right at the keeper, I'm like, God, come on, man. You suck. But like JBG messes up, I'm like, he's only a kid. It's okay. It's fine.
Malen did lose that foot race to, what's his name?
Yeah, I forget his name.
I saw on Twitter, like, he'd lost a foot race to a bald man, which I have to admit, as a bald man, I briefly was like, yeah, you go, old bald dude. But yeah, it wasn't pretty.
And that's so funny. I forgot about that too. I yelled that out loud at the bar. I was like, the man, like, the only thing he's known for is his pace, and he just got beaten a race there. Like, what the fuck? Spent
like a guy who looks 43. Like,
yeah.
Who's apparently only 22. Okay, wow. All right.
I mean, if we're leaning into young guys who look old, do you want to start talking about João Klaus?
Yeah, João Klaus.
Love it.
Yeah. Okay, so I probably shouldn't have even brought up stats because, Adam, you're going to have way more to dive into on stats.
That's all
probably.
of them I have. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. Well, I mean, these are the real simple ones. And I mean, the question at the end of this is like, what went wrong? And obviously mistakes is kind of what gets us. But like ball possession, 66%. I know not all these stats lead to game winning, especially ball possession. You don't need that. But expected goals, accurate passes, 84% to 69%. Total shots, 20 with 14 in the box. It just seemed like we should have ran with this game, but it also felt like watching it. I like these stats surprised me a little bit coming off the game, like watching it, because I felt like the game and the team in general, and I don't know if it was how we were trying to work the ball or not, but it just seemed kind of like lackadaisical or like lazy to me. I don't know if you guys felt the same, but it just seemed like weren't really doing that much. We had 14 shots in the 18, but it didn't seem like we really created too much. And then the other thing I want to note on was Haller only had one shot. And I know we talked about Haller last week, and we even got the update from him talking about how he needs to get back up to match fitness and everything. But it just seemed again like we weren't really playing to him or through him, or and to see only one shot as the striker just seems a little I don't know. It kind of plays into that.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a great one for Haller again. I also don't want to harp on him too much because he's working his way back, but it was another that, I think we maybe got our hopes up when it looked like he was like roaring back right away, but it is going to take time. And I think that we all understand, the path that he's taken to get here, but maybe, not as many minutes. I did see Moukoko was running the other day. I don't know if that means he's in training, or if he's just running again. That would be a nice thing to get him some more minutes too. He seemed to immediately tank after signing the extension and then got hurt. So I would love to see some success come his way as well. And, I don't know, maybe the Schalke game would have been a decent one for Modeste, like, especially just tell Wolf, just aim for his head, just time and again. But I don't know. Then again, we would have missed out on, Guerrero's goal if we were just crossing balls into the box at Modeste. So I don't want to, complain or change our tactics too much here. As
from a team standpoint, or more of a collective standpoint, I think we just really, at the end of the day, let Schalke come back. And I think that's why leaving there with a tie is so frustrating to me this time around, is because this is not a good Schalke team. And I don't know, I guess you can call it form because they haven't lost a game, but they also haven't won many as well in the past few months. And they haven't scored a lot of goals either. So to concede two really frustrating ones, I mean, Rierson kind of had a bit of a stinker as well. I think this is arguably, in my opinion, Rierson's worst game in a Dortmund kit so far. Didn't really mark well on their second goal. And then, of course, I'm not having to go at Meyer. It's just, comparing the quality of Meyer to Kobel. I think Kobel saves that one, the header from Karaman. So that's just a really unfortunate goal to concede kind of late in the day too. And I just think the team almost kind of accepted a tie, which is just frustrating because again, now you're 2 points behind.
That was a ridiculous goal to concede.
It really was.
This Hail Mary cross from Bolter where our entire defense just went and watched it come in. Like all of
the ball's getting bigger.
Literally, they just watched. I don't know. I think the announcer said Rierson slipped a little. I don't know if that's what caused it, and then the header from like so far out, and it's just so frustrating. Like I don't have a stat for that one, but the first one, I was surprised to see the XG at the end of the match was as close as it was, but that's because Bolter's goal was an 80% chance because he took it at point blank range because that was the final tap in. But what got him to that point obviously was not an 80% chance. Mm-hmm. I think if Chen doesn't like kind of stumble a little bit going into that slide, maybe he has a chance to break it up. I'm not blaming Chen for the goal. To be clear, I just think like he didn't get the slide that he wanted that would have broken it up.
Yeah.
Jake, I think I talked over you. Go ahead.
Oh no, I don't think so. I was going to jump in with that second goal and the cross before the cross when the ball even kind of cleared out or whatever when Schalke got it back. That's the point in the match, and maybe it's because a goal came right after it. But I was like, man, they look so like late, like they've just accepted it. It seemed like it was like the 75th minute or something, and it seemed like they were playing like there was a 30 seconds left, maybe. Which even though there's 30 seconds left, they're right outside your 18. You're just going to stand around because there is no urgency to get to the ball or like try to win it back or anything. It was just like, oh, it kind of cleared out, and then we'll just let them have it and then cross it in, and obviously we see the goal. So that was the big thing. Like it almost felt like as soon as they got that second goal, they were just kind of like, cool, we did it. And there was a lot more work to do, and they didn't do any of it, which was unfortunate.
Yeah. There's honestly a lot more I could go into about this game, but we're about 36 minutes in. So I think we should probably wrap up because we got two big other segments to get to. But I just want to say, just to I guess, wrap everything up, having no Kobel and no Brandt is clearly starting to really show in this team. Injuries are starting to be pretty apparent again, and the list is growing, which just sucks. And then you have some players that are still having kind of stinkers and they're kind of dipping in form. So this is not the time to be letting up. And we're really hoping we could turn things around into this weekend. We have Köln at home. Do we want to go to Köln, or I guess I decided for us. Is that all right before we get into the women's update?
Well, we're doing it. Well, I will say, and I think on this game too, like Brandt has obviously been so good. And like although Guerrero's was up there creating, and we do get a lot of creation out of Jude too. I think we're missing Brandt so much because Guerrero's just running around like a crazy person, and it works out a lot of the time when he's in the middle. It worked out, but there's a difference between this like kind of pulling the strings and just running around and getting in dangerous positions. So I think Brandt is the big miss. Obviously, Adeyemi was hot, and just like that depth, it's like the fact that that depth quickly went away. With like two guys being injured, which is unfortunate. And that's, hopefully we can get them back.
with Adeyemi being injured, we were missing Mullen for a little bit there. Royce was out, Brandt was out, Makoko was out. I mean, it's piling up. Like it's not just a couple. It's actually quite a bit already in a short amount of time.
Kobel, it keeps going.
Oh yeah, that one. And then Meyer was almost out too. I was like, "Are we going to get a Lotka game?" I'm like, "Oh yeah."
I said a couple, and then I like forget because Royce is because he was injured and everything, or not injured, just sick. So I that didn't process that he's like out.
And when you don't have Brandt, who's the player that you want in there, it's Royce. And when you don't have both, that's a problem.
Yeah. For sure. There was a quick, little injury report. It was just on Twitter. Edin Terzic coming out and saying for the next game for upcoming against Köln, which this is going to hurt too. Emery Chan is suspended. Marco Royce has returned to training on Tuesday, but we'll see what happens. Kobel's muscle injury is under control. However, he is. Oh, I didn't even read this fully earlier.
Yeah, I was going to say I had the quote ready to go, but you took it out of my mouth. Go ahead.
Oh my gosh, that's live reaction to me reading a tweet because again, not prepared, not ready. And then he said, with Julian Brandt, we believe that he'll be very close for Saturday. The only thing that concerns me with that is like, Is that was he training today? Because if he's not training today, I don't feel like he's going to be close Saturday.
I don't think he's going to start. Like, that seems way too soon, but it would be nice to see him come back for a few minutes off the bench. Like, that would be a very good sub to have when we're, getting a little thin up front.
And I wanted to finish the other side of the quote for Koble as well, Jake. So even though Terzic said in the press conference that we got the muscle injury under control, the goalkeeper had to take a break 2 of the last 3 days due to some sort of cold. So on Thursday, which today's Thursday, he was working specifically with the goalkeepers, and on Friday he should return to the team. So I think it's still a bit of a question mark, but we're looking like we're going to have Koble back for Saturday, which is huge.
Is Koble, who's more important coming back, Koble or Brandt?
Oh, shit.
I would say Brandt.
I'm going to go Brandt, yeah.
I think it's Brandt too, particularly if we don't know if we have Royce.
Yeah. But it's so close,
They're both so good. And
I mean, yeah, Koble could very easily come back and give us a monster clean sheet that gives us the win. You know what I mean? But I think because I do have a lot of confidence with Meyer, like I'm never really disappointed when I see him in there. That's like, as long as we can create enough up front, then I think we're going to be okay. But that doesn't mean I don't want I'm fine with Meyer. Like, 100% want Koble back.
So Köln, they're winless in their last 4. Chan's going to be out, so I'm not really sure how we're going to look in the midfield. I mean, I don't know if Terzic is going to have Ozcan as our number 6 or not, or we're going to
seems to be what he was
system.
saying today. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's his old team as well, so an opportunity to, hopefully he steps up in that role.
Yeah. Köln are obviously a very aggressive side. I imagine they're not going to give us even a fraction of the space that Schalke gave us. And they're going to be pressing us hard. They're going to be creating a lot more chances too. So it's an equally tough game. Of course, you have a much better opponent, and it's not a derby, but it's damn near close. Köln are a pretty close town to Dortmund. I guess it depends how I'm feeling come tomorrow when we know who's going to be actually available. Because I feel like there's like 6 question marks. Brandt obviously now with the question mark, Koble as well. Royce, I mean, it looks like the news is pretty positive and optimistic there, but you never know. And so you can just keep going down the list. So I'm kind of indifferent at the moment. How are you guys feeling?
I just remember the last Köln game, and I don't know. I'm a little worried. I don't know if it's because this game, like I was going to ask you guys, does this Schalke game worry you? Like, does that performance worry you, or is it more like because the injuries worry you? Does that concern you for the rest of the Bundesliga season? And I guess, does that concern you for our next game against Köln? I don't know why. I know why. I just feel like Tigges is going to score maybe a couple on us. Oh. I'm worried about the revenge goals, but put Modeste in there. Let him get some.
I mean, Tigges did score against us last time out, so I don't think that's too out of the ordinary.
That's what's burned into my brain. That's why I'm slightly concerned.
Fair enough.
It's so hard to predict based on their recent results because they've had so many like scoreless draws and so many losses to like Bochum and Stuttgart. 3-0 loss to Stuttgart.
Yeah,
they lost to Wolfsburg, but so did we. Several 0-0s in there, but then like a random 7-1 win against Werder Bremen.
I saw that game. I watched it, I think, whenever they were up by 2 or 3. I was like, wow, this is kind of a goal fest. And they scored 4 more. And Tigges had a hell of a day against that side.
And then 3-0 against Eintracht. So, you never know what to expect. I feel like I'm confident, but now I'm like questioning, like, should I be? Like,
I don't
know. This team has to be. I think it's a little different now. Like, I feel like the Schalke match would have snowballed before, but this is a team that just won 10 games in a row. Like, I feel like they need to know that they can bounce back, and I don't know. I'm a little more confident that they can do it against Cologne.
I want that confidence to come over here because what I was going to say is it is concerning me a little bit that we didn't get the win in Schalke just because it was so incredibly winnable. And after the Chelsea loss, I was telling Jake, like, forget Champions League. Let's just focus on the league now. Let's get a good result at Schalke, get 3 points and come back home. And the fact that the guys just kind of let off the gas a bit, in my opinion, and let them come back into the game, it gets me slightly concerned because Köln is such a tough side. This isn't a game that we're walking into going, this is 3 points before the break.
I'll just start with my predictions because I know we got to move on a little bit. Enough. But I think it will be a tight game, and I'm hoping the home, like being back at home, will be enough to like. I fear a little bit of like confidence slipping because of the outs. Like I feel like that affects the team, and the loss to Chelsea was like, with that being the first loss, that's obviously going to bring down some confidence, and then to turn around and have that kind of draw too. Like I feel like there's going to be some, I don't know, slipping mentally and a little bit of doubt creeping in. If Brandt comes back, if Kobo comes back, then maybe that's not the case. Or if Royce is in there and can like kind of pull him back up, hopefully that's what happens. But I think there's going to be a little bit of a lapse or maybe some doubt creeping into some of the guys. And I hope that being at home lifts them up enough to get a 3-2 win. Tigges brace.
Tigges brace.
But a 3-2 win for Dortmund.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
He might put a couple past us.
See, I was going to go out on a limb and say like the only scores that I know it won't be are like 1-0, 2-1, 3-2. Yeah. I can see two things happening. The snowball continues and they draw or possibly lose. I hope they don't do that. Or they just wake the heck up and like win 4-1, that type of thing.
That's what I'm hoping for. I'm going to go 3-1 on the dime of Kobo being back. We have Royce back, and I think we'll do the same back four, but have Royce in that midfield trio. Guerrero in that midfield trio again, and then Royce out here on the left for them two to link up. I think that trio of having like Guerrero, Royce, and Sancho is some of our best link-up play that I've seen as a Dortmund supporter, or at least since being a Dortmund supporter. So kind of having at least two of them to link up in midfield, I think is going to help a lot, especially with going forward and being creative. If I don't imagine Brandt playing personally.
I'm going to go 4-1. I'll go with that 4-1.
Sweet. That's
I
fine.
threw that one out there.
I like it. I like it. I was riding so much confidence as of late, and now it's shattered. I think it's mainly because Carver wrecked my JBG hopes and dreams with those stats. I was feeling real good. Anyways, we'll move on. And Adam, it is your time to shine. And I know a lot's been happening with the women's team. We always get a great update from you because it's always just win, 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 win. But they just had like their biggest game in history as a club so far. But before you get into that game specifically and give us the details about that, can you give us like everything that's happened before then and kind of if people don't know what's going on with the Dortmund's women's team, if you want to give a quick highlight recap.
Yeah, so the first half of the season was magical. They won their 13 matches. Right now, they're 15-0-0 in the league. They have a huge gap on the second place team. It's like a 15-point gap after 15 match days. Scored 92 goals, conceded 3. So over the break, they actually lost a couple friendlies against some higher level teams, like a couple of 2-1 losses, which is a little bit rare for them, but it is against higher level teams. They opened the season back up on March 5th, and they won that. It was tight though against Rot-Weiss Allen, which coincidentally that's where they were like on the same pitch where like Marco Reus started his professional career. So that was cool.
Oh, cool.
And then after that was the cup match. They're in 2 cups this year. There's the Kreispokal, which is like the district cup, but this is the regional cup that they were in, the Verbandspokal. And this one, they were drawn. Well, they got into this one because of winning the Kreispokal last year, and they were drawn against Bochum. So not Bochum 2 or Bochum 3 or anything, but they were drawn against Bochum, who's in the 3rd division. So this is 3 divisions higher. And they're also 3rd place in that 3rd division. So this is a very good team they're going up against. So this was by far the biggest match in their history. And the match started. It was not televised, unfortunately.
Yeah, I saw you say the Twitch was canceled, right? Or the stream was canceled? I said Twitch.
Yeah, they had to move the match because of weather to a different field that wasn't set up for everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a bummer because I was like, oh, this is the biggest match. But in the 16th minute, Mandy Reinhardt scored for Dortmund. Sounds like it was very much against the run of play. But we'll take it. You know, they were absorbing a lot of pressure, but Mandy scored in the 23rd minute. I was running around the house yelling to my son. Anna Zabel scored. So they were up 2-0 after 23 minutes in this match that they, on paper, didn't have much of a chance in winning. Unfortunately, there was a spell in the second half in the 54th, 55th, and 62nd minute where they conceded 3 goals. And they lost 3-2. And it was very, very deflating because like we didn't get as many updates in that second half. So we're like, what's going on? But yeah, unfortunately, that was the first competitive game they've ever lost. And it sounds like they put in a hell of an effort. And, you know, a team 3 divisions higher, they were winning for that long. And then, you know, even after conceding that third one, they held on, didn't let it get away from them. So I'm very pleased with how it sounds like, I have to say, it sounds like they played. They absorbed a lot of pressure, but unfortunately that like 8-minute spell or whatever it was got away from them. And then they came back and they had another league match the next, I think it was like 4 days later. So they won that one 12-0. They took that out on the next opponent. I think Mandy scored 4. Mia Badar got her first hat trick, I believe. It was a really good match. So, you know, just running through some of the top scorers, Marie Grota, she's a new player this year as well. In 11 matches, she has 15 goals and 11 assists, like off the charts. Mandy Reinhardt, who I just mentioned, 15 matches, she has 15 goals as well, 8 assists. And then a couple players who were the stars last year as well. Anna Zabel has 14 goals and 14 with an assist. And Vanessa Kuhl has 13 games, 10 goals, 5 assists. So, and then, you know, there's a bunch of other players contributing as well. But those were the ones that are in double digits in goals. I
just want to reiterate. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I was about to move on to a different topic. Like they had an indoor tournament over the winter break too that I could touch on as well, which seemed pretty interesting. But yeah, what was your question there?
Please do. I was just going to reiterate some stats for the listeners, just in case you didn't hear those. 3 goals conceded in the league this year. They have an 89 goal differential, and would you say they're up? Yeah, 15 points from second place. And of course, the 6th division, correct? Because we were in the 7th last year. 6th division, you know, take that as you will. But again, competing against another team in the Pokal, 3 divisions higher, and holding on for that long. I mean, obviously didn't watch it either, but I did read the match report on the Dortmund website, and the fact that, you know, they just kept at him for so long is really impressive. It shows you that something is truly special that is happening here. That blows my mind. 3 goals conceded. I think, didn't we, like last year, it was the same way, if not like 2 or 1 goal? It was something. It was like less than 3. It had to have been. And
it was like really towards the end of the year.
Yeah. When we were playing like our goalkeeper at striker. I forget what player that was. It played like 6 different positions. She didn't play goalkeeper. I was exaggerating, but she did play like 6 different positions.
Center back, maybe one of our center backs. Well, Adam could tell us, but
yeah, they didn't concede until April last year, and they did concede 3 in the league, so that was higher than I thought. Well, I wonder,
unacceptable.
Was that the game that Louisa played in goal? Like our number 6 filled in at goal for one of the games. Yeah, but. Yeah, I mentioned that there was this indoor tournament, which I kind of didn't know anything about. And, you know, I just posted on Instagram, like, what is this, like, Hall Masters thing? And the beauty is, like, the team responds, like, players and like the people involved in the team, like, they're like, oh, and tell you about this indoor tournament that's held in the Dortmund region. So they played against a lot of the teams that they play on the outdoor, but they just played an indoor tournament. So they played a lot of matches over like a weekend. They won the tournament. Spoiler alert. They won by a combined score of 63-3 in all of the games. There was like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games total. So but they're 12-minute games. One of the 12-minute games, I just have to mention very quickly, and I'm still trying to figure out exactly how this happened mathematically. A 12-minute game. Now the whistle has to, like, the time has to stop between goals because they won 23-0 in a 12-minute game. Like,
that has to be an error.
It's not, though.
Yeah.
Vanessa Kuhl scored twice in the first minute and then again in the second. Like, she had a hat trick by the second minute. Marie Grote scored 3 times in the 12th minute. So, like, score, the clock stops, go back, run up, score, the clock. Like,
yeah.
Were there even other people on the floor is my question. It's kind of unbelievable. I know if I was given 12 minutes and nobody else was on the floor, I could not score 23 goals in that amount of time. And the fact that they did that against any opponent is kind of shocking. But yeah, Vanessa Kuhl scored 10 goals in that tournament. And so did Julia Godecki. And I thought, who is Julia Godecki? So apparently they have signed a new player over the winter who's playing for the second team. And like, she has like DFB Pokal experience. Like, so they're picking up players with experience. She also played for Berghofen, which is where the coach Thomas Saluski and many of the players they have at this point came from. Wait, am I saying? Anyway, yeah, she was on the club that he was. So he's reuniting a bunch of his old players with Dortmund now. So it's been really cool to see that come together. And so, yeah, I guess that's kind of the update that I had on the first team. Women's second team is doing awesome as well. So.
I guess if people want to tune in and watch, obviously not everything is televised. You do get to watch a lot of them, but I mean, best way is obviously just to follow Adam, and then you have like your website with all the details. If you want to touch on that a little bit, and then also get into, I guess, some upcoming matches, especially like the cup ones that people might want to, if they can't tune in and everything, there's like some big one standout games that would be good to tune into also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can check. My website is Darowski, darowski.com/BVB. And I have any of the stream links that have been published there. But I also recommend following the BVB Frauen on BVB 09 Frauen on Instagram.
Yeah.
They, on their stories, they tend to update with like the links to the live streams and stuff like that. Sometimes it's like a last minute stream, so I don't have it on my website. And I recommend following them for many reasons. They're producing a lot of good content around it too. Just like, they have some of the, on YouTube, they have for the men's team, some of the, like the games where they have to like guess things about each other and stuff like that. They're doing more of that for the women's team, which is awesome because you get to know the players, and I really appreciate that. And, I got to read the subtitles, and, I really do need to learn German, but, and as far as the next cup game, so they'll have their first Kreispokal match on the 22nd, which is next week, right? Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a stream for that one yet. They're going to be against Victoria Kirsten, who they did play last year, and I believe they kind of blew them out last year. So I don't think this cup match is going to be nearly as tough as the previous one that they had. It's just a totally different level cup. But it's always great to see them in a knockout tournament like that. They always show up and do really well. And another match that they have coming up is against Eintracht Dorstfeld, who they faced in the cup last year. They were like the higher division team that they played last year, and now they're in the same division. So I'm sure there's a little bit of little rivalry get back at them there. And right after that, they play Van Baarle SV, who they also played in the cup last year, who was a higher division. So they're moving, they won the cup, and now they're moving up to face some of the teams that they faced in the cup last year. So familiar faces, I guess.
And right before that, even, I'm going to botch this, but they have also a game. I was looking at your site, Adam, against Germania Lohauser-Holtz, who's in second place in their division right now too. So a lot of like competition that is kind of more in their realm, I'll say, in the next few weeks. Mm-hmm. So some winnable games, but also some good tests for them as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And just kind of like touching on like the familiar faces. Last year, like their number one rival was a team called Solderholz, and I kind of like grew a little attached to that team just because of how hard they played Dortmund. I think those games were like 3-0, 4-0 or something like that. So they're in a division now with the second team, and the women's second team is just blowing everybody out. But so has Solderholz. The only match that Solderholz has lost is a 4-0 to Borussia Dortmund. Other than that, they've won everything, and they have like a plus 74 goal differential as well. So they have a good little rivalry going there as well.
Cool.
And everybody else in the league hates both of them.
I'm sure they do. Yeah, and the last thing I'll mention about the second team is that Mariana Naseva was just again called up to the North Macedonian national team. She's played for them like 3 times now. So a player on our second team is getting called up to her national team, and that's a super cool thing to see.
It really is.
Awesome.
I don't know why she's on the second team. She's fantastic, but...
Yeah, I mean, if she's getting called up to the national team, then yeah. But yeah, that's awesome. Well, we are going to link everything, Adam's Twitter, his website, and everything. If you want to, we do it every week. It's always in the description of the episode for this podcast. We always have it there. But now for any new listeners lately, shout out to all the new listeners we've been getting lately, especially in the new year. Numbers have been going up quite a bit, which is awesome. So meet Adam officially. I probably didn't give him as big of an introduction as I should have, because we've known Adam for maybe a little over a year now, which has been
like that,
great. And I apologize we haven't had him on in like more recently, but now you know Adam and all the things that he does. I've said it before. You told me maybe not to be the best resource, but the best resource for the Dortmund's women's team and just like Dortmund stuff in general, stats and facts and everything. It's always great to have Adam on. So make sure you follow him on everything and follow his website and follow the Dortmund women's team. When did you say their next game is? Are they playing this weekend and the cup is next weekend?
They're playing this weekend against Eichlinghofen.
Sorry, put you on the spot.
and that one does have a stream link up on the website. So
great.
Hopefully we'll be able to check that one out. Of course, I won't be able to watch that live. I'll be in the car at the time, but I'll watch it later. Cool.
So you can check them out. We'll have that in the description of this episode too. Then Dortmund home versus Köln, Saturday, 1:30 Eastern time. If I have my time zones correct, I'll have it correct in the description of this episode, like everything else. But hey, we really appreciate you guys hanging out and listening. As always, my voice has cracked so many times, so it's definitely bedtime. We will talk with you guys later. See ya.
See ya.
Thanks, guys.